Good God, ladies and gentlemen, they're doing it. They're actually doing it. This is not a drill. Everybody panic and freak out. Look, I made a video it was like 2 months ago on like things that I think Flesh and Blood should really do, and things that they should like invest in the game in or take the game in new directions. And one of those things was literally expanding the brand further and doing more things with like merch and stuff like that, because people love the game, they love the IP, they love like the characters. And crap, we got some stuff to talk about, because check this out. Look, this was posted I don't know when, I'm not gonna lie, but it is from nbr.co.nz, and if you don't know, that's the National Business Review. I think that's what it stood for when I looked it up, which is a New Zealand-based publication that's all about business, pushes business and industry from New Zealand, Wellington, New Zealand, if my quick research was correct. And this article was posted recently, and it was shared in a group chat of mine. And the question was, is this for real? Is this for real? And so after some digging, one of the people in the group chat got me some screenshots. And so like kudos for the screenshots. Huge shout out of the article with the screenshots. Check this article out. We're gonna go through literally everything. Yes, it does literally say in talks to produce a Netflix series for Flesh and Blood. Like, literally, just take Castlevania and just put Flesh and Blood in that exact same aesthetic art style and, like, storyline. Super graphic, like, dark. Come on. That would be amazing. Like, people have been saying that for far too long, and the fact that that is just at the very least in the works. It may not come to fruition, but that the fact that it's being thought of speaks hugely to where Flesh and Blood is heading. And yeah, I mean, if you were worried about Flesh and Blood in any way, shape, or form as far as like where the game is going, this should do something to assuage your fears about the future of the viability of the game. Let's dive into the article and see what it has to say. I'm not going to read every single word, but I will read some of these big ones. Like, for example, at the beginning, James White sees no reason his Auckland-based gaming company can't become a billion-dollar venture because of this next paragraph's mind-blowing. Given that the creator of a hit trading card TCG trading card game Flesh and Blood has gone from a revenue of $1 million in the first few months after launching in 2019, and that's like $1 million seems like a lot, right? But I can't even imagine all of the costs involved in putting out a TCG in a large market way that Flesh and Blood did in 2019. And so if your revenue is like $1 million in the first few months, and that changes to a 50 million turnover in the most recent half year, that is crazy. That is so crazy. And I mean, look, this is the market reaction to a 2-year-old game. That is insane, and to continue to just capitalize on that, it just makes so much sense to expand the brand identity in any way, shape, or form that you think your audience would gravitate to. I mean, why not, right? The homegrown game's latest release, Tales of Aria, went straight to #1 in North American gaming charts when it launched in September. To put this in perspective, that is beating TCM juggernauts such as Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and Pokemon. It's the second time the game has actually done that, which is, again, absolutely huge. I don't know. I can't actually speak to what metric that this article and the research that they did was measuring. So as far as like beating Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, it would really depend on the metrics. So I will say this, don't read too far into like every single thing and say that like the game is literally the #1 game of all time now, because it would have a long way to go still to compete, with those top big three. And the fact that though it is multiple times in its lifespan thus far, the short lifespan it is very telling, again, to what the game has done thus far. And like as a game, it's like it is a game that is both enjoyed by collectors, investors, and players. And this article continues to talk about that here going forward. This is kind of cool. Look, Hasbro, Magic Gathering's publisher, has a market cap of 13 billion. So why can't Legend Story Studios find a way to capitalize into the billion mark? There's no reason why it couldn't perhaps become a billion-dollar venture. And look, if it does, I don't think you can argue that it would be one of the top 4, maybe even working its way into the top 3 TCGs going forward. I mean, definitely one of the... I'm trying to think of like a 4th, right? Because we know the top 3 mentioned in the prior statement, MTG, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon. I guess some people would say like DBZ Super would be the 4th. Vanguard. I mean, those don't feel like true number 4s. There's probably one that I'm just not even thinking about. But maybe Flesh and Blood already occupies the 4th spot, even though it's super young still in its life cycle, which is fantastic news if you enjoy the game like I do. Anyway, continuing down, this is very interesting. The company has a strong balance sheet and no need of additional investment at this stage. He and his partner own a controlling 51.53% stake through a trust company. So basically they don't need more investors. The company is stable, right? Which is very cool. This is crazy. Anyone who invested in the first capital raise in 2019 have gotten their money back. But that is like true across the board. Like if you invested in the game, you know, as a player even, or as like a collector, you got those giant stonks, like they said in the 2020 basically craziness of that year. You managed to make out like a bandit, perhaps. Unfortunately, I didn't have like a ton of money as far as investing. I just played the game, and so I ended up with like a playable collection that is obviously more valuable than it was when I was collecting. But man, I mean, everyone says it, right? You always wish that you had like a case of alpha just sitting around, or multiple cases of alpha just sitting around, and maybe you do at home, and if you do, congratulations, that's awesome. For me, I always wish I had the Heart of Fiendal or the Tunic. I wish I had either of those in cold foil, but I've literally never held a cold foil Fable, so that doesn't actually exist, by the way. It just doesn't exist. That card doesn't exist in my mind. Cold foil Fables are myths and unicorns. This is okay. I'm gonna jump to this part because skipping right on over to, oh wait, you know what, technically we should talk about this. On top of that, this is the last portion of this text. On top of that, there is the value of the game's intellectual property, and Legend Story Studios is already in talks about producing a Flesh and Blood series for Netflix, and that right there is already enough to talk about in a video. A Flesh and Blood series for Netflix. It doesn't even have to be like huge. It could literally be a mini series produced and just like a tester. You just put it out there as a mini series and see what people think. Again, the IP already has so much like weight to it and so much attractiveness to it. It's got the aesthetic that people can gravitate towards very easily. I mean, it is literally made for like the D&D player, like, or even the, oh god, it's not D&D. What's the other Pathfinder? It reminds me a lot of Pathfinder, the same sort of aesthetic. Like it's darker a little bit more in tone. It's got a little bit different, like edgier tone than D&D may, but like it still attracts that same type of person. And those people want stuff to watch, and they will definitely give it a shot. And again, if you give that a shot, then you're more apt to try the game out. And then you find that the game is freaking good, and then you're like, yes, I will be in this community continually, which is great because now you have an avenue to play the game, you have a way to collect the game, and you have a way to watch the game, you know, as like a show with these characters that you fall in love with. And to me, that is, even if the show doesn't actually come to fruition, this mindset of like, okay, let's take the IP that people love and go about expanding on it. That is the key to this article. They are willing and able, based on this article, Legend Story Studios is willing and able to take the IP and try to invest it into other things, to expand it into other things. Literally, just give me shirts, man. I want to collect all the shirts. Shirt, or I'll take like a Flesh and Blood baseball cap. That's what I would like. A Flesh and Blood baseball cap. I'll do backpacks. Give me some Flesh and Blood, like, I don't know. What's another pair, like a belt? No, shoes. Flesh and Blood shoes would be kind of cool. I don't know, just like, come on. There's like things you can think of. Pins, stickers that I could put on laptops or something like that. I mean, if I want people to know that I enjoy the game and you give me product that I can do that with, done. A poster. I mean, this is all stuff I talked about in that video from a couple of months ago. I should put the link up there. Literally, this is a scintillating article. By the way, if you don't know what Flesh and Blood is, welcome. Welcome to the channel. I make Flesh and Blood content, as well as content for other card games, dice games, stuff like that. Games that I enjoy. If this is your first time here, it's wonderful to see you. And you can press that button and make a thing happen. You do that. Also, Heart of Fyendal is worth $40,000 to some collectors, and I would say it's probably worth more than that, actually, to some collectors. But you don't see a lot of sales of Hearts of Fyendal, so who knows, really? I mean, it could be way up there, actually, which is kind of crazy. The game is based on the world of Wraith, a fantasy land of vast mountain ranges, dense jungles, warring colonies, and heroes brandishing magical powers. Unlike digital gaming, TCGs involve physical cards. This is all just sort of explaining what in the world's TCGs are. This is interesting, though. Fantasy stories such as Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings are hugely popular at the moment. Spoiler alert, they've been hugely popular for decades, centuries, just straight up. And Legend Story Studios has been mindful of building out not only a game, but an intellectual property base, White says. As well as talks with Hollywood about a TV series, there's obviously application into mobile or online and to other forms of media as well. The sky's the limit for application of IP, and a lot of people really love the stories that we've built and the world that we built around this. I will say this, I want to jump back to this sentence. There's obviously application into mobile or online and other forms of media as well, and that's really intriguing because one of the core tenets or design or like what's the word? Tentpole things, feelings, there's a better word. Tenets is really just the best word for it. For Legend Story Studios was that they want this to be a game played in person. And so talking about like mobile or online expansions doesn't strike me as them saying, hey, we're going to make a mobile client or an online client to play the game. For me, because obviously that would literally be in direct conflict with one of their core principles, as a company. Now, you can, of course, say, you know what, we're going to revisit this and then we're going to change our mind and we are going to do something like this that, possibly provides players more access to the game. But I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think that they're going to do that, particularly so hastily. I mean, 2 years after the game is released. What I would say, though, is this could involve other mobile or online, mediums. Like, it could be like mobile comics, online comics that you don't necessarily print, that are not print media that you don't have to purchase. It could just be like, this is literally a web comic made for you to produce or consume, on your mobile device. Something like that. Like that I could definitely see. A game that I have been looking at, which I'm going to put a video out for like tomorrow, has a comic in their rule book, which is sick. It's like super cool. And there's nothing to say that you can't like sit down with a comic book publishing house and say, hey, we want to produce like a one-shot for this character. Kasai. Come on, give me a one-shot for Kasai. Give me a one-shot for this pirate that's on my playmat. Like, just pick a pirate, make a pirate character. Give me a one-shot for that in the Flesh and Blood universe. What are pirates like? Like, do they maraud? Is that a thing in Flesh and Blood in Wraith? I don't know. But you could tell me that in a one-shot comic, and I would love you for it, Legend Story Studios. I mean, I already do, but I would love it more. Anyway, I'm just going to skip past this because it just talks about the calling, which we've already kind of talked about before. At the very bottom there, it talks about like what Tales of Aria looks like, and we'll get to the last couple of screens. This one's really interesting. While most of Flesh and Blood's estimated 200,000 players worldwide do, play the game for fun, there are a hardcore number of about 20,000 professional players. They're giving away in 2022, we already know this, about 1 million for pro play, which is great. And this is interesting. Part of that is what I call star building. It's to create the personalities and the real human champions of the game. These people get fan followings, they create content, they basically your marketing team around the world. Yes, they are, by winning games and like playing and engaging like with this community, they are. And as you can see, they used a picture of I don't remember her name, the cosplayer that one of the cosplayers at the Vegas calling. To me, that right there is another key to expanding your brand IP, is having players be so engaged with the heroes, and for you to tap into that engagement, and for players to like literally dress in the costume, or like cosplay in general as these characters, or just wear the character like on a shirt, or heck, just wear like a Ranger themed shirt. Again, it's like L5R style. If you don't know L5R, Legend of the Five Rings, like when it was at its first sort of release, was so like had players that were sold out on their like specific clan, and you can release clan t-shirts, like you can release class t-shirts, you can release things that people can rep their love for. And it's like that's like the number one thing, probably even more than a Netflix series, though I think that would have more traction. Like give your player base and your community base the ability to like engage with that love of their specific class or hero, something like that. Just this article was like mind-blowing today, the fact that it just dropped. And this came, by the way, I want to stop for a moment, this came on the heels of my good buddy Kel's interview with James White, where he did indeed confirm that we are going to get an Everfest Carnival supplemental set, which is super spicy, which does also confirm that Arcanite Skullcap will be reprinted like very soon. Because again, January is coming around the pipe, and I think they're going to release that set in January. That's just straight up what I think. This stuff down at the bottom, I want you to read that, and then I'm going to hit tab, boom, and go over here. I think this last part was really interesting because it gives you like a couple of views. The gamer's view, which you can kind of read through, and like get this idea of like, okay, this is from a gamer's perspective, maybe not a gamer's perspective that plays Flesh and Blood, or maybe it's just literally a gamer's perspective from any game. But then the last one was really interesting to me. Difficult to predict winners. Even if you're really close to the TCG sector, it's difficult to predict winners, says Tim Ponting, an advisor to gaming investor Alt Ventures. So he's literally an advisor to investors, like gaming investors. Flesh and Blood came out of nowhere, and yet it absolutely hit on the money, quite literally straight out of the gate. I don't think it's unrealistic to expect it to be absolutely massive on an ongoing basis. That is very interesting. This is also interesting. The ability for games to cross from physical to digital and now into crypto is huge, Alt Venture founder Chris Jagger says. There are many more paths to monetize than there used to be, and some of those paths are absolutely massive. Dropping NFTs around physical collectibles opens up an entirely new market that's potentially even bigger than the physical side of the business. Now, in these specific screenshots, I didn't see anywhere, maybe I missed it just because I was going through this with excitement. I didn't see anywhere where they mentioned specifically Flesh and Blood tapping into the NFT market. By the way, I'm not going to spend time talking about what an NFT is and like how to actually, like why it matters. Look up into NFTs. They're pretty interesting. I don't actually have any myself, but you can consider getting one yourself. If Flesh and Blood did make NFTs, that'd be quite interesting. I don't know if I would collect NFTs myself. I guess it would depend on the price. I mean, it's basically like crypto, except it's art. You think of it that way, right? That's an NFT. And the fact that they are considering it, and we've already seen like MetaZoo do NFT stuff. and kind of try to brand expand in that way, which is incredibly smart from a perspective of like what MetaZoo wants to be as a brand, which is like their number one core tenet. They want to be, you know, an expandable brand. And for a game like Flesh and Blood, which already has a really, really good storyline and world building, it kind of makes sense to do something similar. I mean, it makes sense to have like NFTs around these heroes, because the heroes themselves are what you love about the game, or NFTs around the locations. Heck, I know this is crazy. You ready for like tinfoil hat idea, like dumb idea? You take the idea, okay, here it is, right? You take an alternate reality game like Pokemon Go, and you put it in the world of Wraith. Like that's like super dumb. No one. I don't know if anyone would want to play that, but literally, I don't know. Maybe you walk around like alternate reality style, like Pokemon Go, and instead of catching Pokemon, you like, I don't know, kill people. No, that's too dark. I can't say that on screen. I don't know, but like that idea is you can literally take the brand of Flesh and Blood and like tool it in different ways like that, because it already exists. Guys, I'm excited about this. I don't know if you're excited about this, but this just has like my head is spinning with the possibilities of what even just like a Netflix series could mean for the future of this game, and as far as just establishing itself continually year after year as a mainstay in TCGs. It is a very exciting time. If you're a Flesh and Blood fan, you should be excited. I know I'm excited. And now I just want to know what in the world we're going to see for this Everfest set, and what it's going to look like, if they're going to support all of the heroes in the game or all of the classes in the game. I don't know. I just want to play more Shiana. That's all I want to do. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like and the subscribe. Leave a comment down below with what you think they mean with all of this, and what you think about this article, or if it's sort of all just kind of hot air, or if it's got, you know, because it's obviously it's a reputable news source. If it's hot air, then maybe we see nothing from any of this, but I don't think so. I think I'm really excited right now, and as you can see in this video, the excitement is real. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, all that stuff. Goodbye and good luck.